Newsload London presents.
No, I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about my relationship with Jennifer Aniston. I just don't think it's right. I don't want to use my own personal life to get publicity for, a lot of comics who work very hard to be part of Yuk Yuk's. Just want to let you know that. Other than that, I'm happy to talk about anything you want, Carrie-Anne.
Hi, I'm Carrie-Anne Stevenson. We're here with Newsload, and today we're interviewing Mark Breslin. Very exceptionally exciting night because we are launching here at Yuk Yuk's.
Well, I have to say that it wouldn't have happened without Carrie-Anne. She found the space. And finding the space for a comedy club is like half the work already. And then the other half is the rest of it. But finding the space is really important, and I think you found and we developed a really nice place to see comedy.
The launch, how has it been so far?
Well, as you can see, we're packed. Actually, we are packed. We not only are doing 3 shows with Tom Green this weekend, but we added a 4th on tonight, Friday Late Show, which we almost never do. And it's a big room. This is one of the bigger Yuk Yuk's rooms with 240 seats. So, sure, people say, I sold out this club, and the club turned out to have 40 seats. So, big deal. But, 240 seats, sold 4 times. That's good. That's really good.
And I've already been chatting with some of the wait staff. They're adorable, they're friendly, they're lovely. So, I think it's going to be a really great experience here.
That's good. Well, we don't have a lot of serial killers working as wait staff in any of our other clubs, and I gave them a directive: no serial killers here either. So you don't have to worry about that.
You have to have high expectation.
Yeah.
When you hire staff, absolutely. The London location, there have been a few clubs in London before.
We started off in a place across the street from here, which was a low-rise hotel at the time, and we did great there. It was a great room, but then they knocked it down to build the convention center, so we had to move. So we moved out to the suburbs, and we had a great room there, and I can't tell you exactly where that is because the suburbs is all the same to me, but it did really well, and it was run by a husband and wife team, and then they split up, and when they split up, the whole deal fell apart there. Then we moved to around the corner from here. There was a building which is now looks like it's a park, a tiny parkette, which originally was the home of the Second City in London and became the Yuk Yuk's. The problem with that place was it was falling apart, like literally falling apart, and the landlord would not fix it, so the city condemned it and they knocked it down.
But the woman running that building,
Yes.
You and I both have a very fond memory of Connie Winkleman. She was a delight running that venue.
Yeah, well, I knew her for 20 years, 25 years. I knew her when she was cutting my hair. So, yeah, it's very sad that Connie is no longer with us.
But she ran the room beautifully, but then she located us to
the Western Fair District, and it wasn't an ideal location because it's not downtown. It's kind of a challenge to get to. You certainly can't walk to it. But we were there, and we were doing fine, but then they decided that room would make more money if they had one-armed bandits in it. Like most casinos realize that. They put in a restaurant, and then they do the math, and they realize they'll make more money having yet more machines. So that was I consider that a COVID issue, because it happened right when COVID was happening, and we lost a number of locations around the country when COVID happened. We had to replace them. This is a replacement for another club.
So you have been a Yuk Yuk's club owner for 47 years, is it?
Yeah, and here's the statistic you might find morbidly funny, which is, Mitzi Shore from the Comedy Store died last year. Bud Friedman from the Improv died 2 years ago, and Rick Newman from Catch a Rising Star died this year. So this now makes me the last man standing, and I am now the world's longest comedy club owner in the world.
Have you approached the Guinness Book of World Records?
I should do that, the good idea. I'll do that. I was more likely to approach the bar for a Guinness. But yes, that's a very, very good idea. And I will do that. I will do that.
So you've been awarded several times.
Well, this is the big one, of course, and I wear this with pride. Not gay pride, but pride. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But yes, this is an Order of Canada, and it is, I guess, the closest thing you can get in Canada to a knighthood. I believe there's only 600 people in the entire country who have one currently. They usually don't give it to people in the arts. That's what people think. It's an arts award, but it's not. Most of the people who got this the year that I was there, I asked them all, what did you do? What did you do? They're mostly philanthropists or scientific researchers. So, I'd be sitting at this big table having this amazing meal that they prepared for you, and I'd turn to the person next to me. I said, what did you do? He said, well, I researched a certain gene that makes it easier to treat prostate cancer. I go, that's great. Then I turn to the next person, what did you do? Oh, I have set up a whole series of shelters for battered women. And then they would say, what did you do? And I would say, I made it safe for comics to open up a dirty mouth. They give it to you if you do something that has some international appeal and strength, or you set up an economic system, which I did kind of for comedy. It was great, and I'm so glad I have this, because it settles an argument right away. If you're having an argument about something, and somebody says something, I go, well, you know what? This says I'm right. So it's great. But you can't wear it on your bathrobe when you load the dishwasher. It just doesn't work.
No.
I think the dishes should go in this way. Oh, yeah? But it doesn't work. And people also always ask me if, I get free stuff because of it. Never. Well, no, that's not true. Once I was at a kind of alternative cinema, and I went to get a tea and a muffin. And the girl behind the counter gave me the tea and gave me the muffin. I went to pay. She said, oh, no, I see what's on your lapel. You don't pay. Once. That happened once.
But you've allowed comics of Canada and the US the ability of free speech. You're not about censorship. You want people to be able to express themselves, and it's really wonderful what you've done for our community.
Well, thank you. Look, a lot of it was selfish in the sense that when I was a performer, I did stuff that was really edgy. And I've thought, well, if I want to do the edgy stuff, I have to make it okay for everybody else to do the edgy stuff. And people would, in the beginning, before they knew what they were getting, I don't know what they thought they were getting, like Red Skelton or something, they would come and they would hear all this dirty stuff, or, talking against religion or talking against the government, things that just weren't happening 47 years ago.
Yeah.
And they would leave. But enough people stayed, and the people who stayed felt that they got exactly what they wanted and would come back again and again and again and tell their friends who were like-minded. And after about 2-3 years, people stopped walking out. They may have been, there might have been one or two in an evening, but it wasn't mass walkouts like I had back when I first started.
I really respected the controversial decision of you inviting the cancel culture king, Louis C.K., into your club. I admired that. I thought, allow an entertainer the freedom to be able to continue to be in show business.
Well, yeah. First of all, he's a great comic. If he weren't a great comic, I would not have gotten involved in the controversy, but he was a great comic, and he couldn't play anywhere. Not in North America, anyway. In Europe, you can do anything you want, and people will just eat it up. They don't care.
Yeah.
But here, there's a lot of blackmail going on, and that's what I really call it, from a lot of these, woke organizations and woke people. And the blackmail is, and it works. It works. It doesn't work for me, but it does work. If you book this person, we will boycott your business, and we will get everybody we know to boycott your business. And if you're a big business, that scares you. But, I'm not a big business. I'm kind of a big little business. So I don't take any money from the government. I don't take any sponsorship money. So the only people I have to worry about are my clientele. And I know my clientele well. That's my job. And I knew that if I booked Louis C.K., very few people would take umbrage to it, and a lot of people would want to come. In fact, we sold all 5 shows or 6 shows out within something like 17 minutes, and that had never happened before. No one got hurt. He came, he saw, he conquered, he left. No, I would only worry about something if somebody I booked was a threat to my staff, to the other comics, or to the customers. And I knew that that's not what this was all about. Plus, it's my job to know where the public sort of sits on an issue. And I knew that the problems that people had with Louis C.K. were kind of minor. A lot of people had already forgiven him, or a lot of people felt it was a specious complaint in the first place. But if somebody said, hey, will you book Bill Cosby, I know that there's enough people who would not come and would not think it was cool and would not. So, you have to kind of know where the audience sits.
Another very controversial comedian that was canceled often was Joan Rivers. And you had the honor of being able to be involved in her show.
Dorothy Melvin has a big bandage on her ear. She has a big bandage on her ear. And when, when Billy Samuth comes in, he has a bandage on his nose. So I'm talking to them for a while, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I said, look, I have to ask here. It's like I'm kind of in a hospital. I noticed you each have something wrong with your face. What's up? What's going on? Joan says, okay, I thought you'd never ask. Every year, if I have a good year, knock on wood, I treat all the key people in my organization to one piece of plastic surgery. Oh. She said, and if you work for us, what would you like to have done? And I said, well, I've always wanted a penis reduction. a dickotomy. And she goes, a dickotomy! Oh my God, oh that's so funny, oh that's so funny, oh you're hired, you're hired, you're hired. And that's how I got the job.
That's fantastic. Oh, Joan.
But that's not really how I got the job.
Really?
Well, what made her call me in the first place?
Your reputation?
Not enough. How did she know about my reputation even? This is the part that luck plays. Because everybody tells you it's all about hard work. But it isn't really all about hard work. There's some luck involved.
That's who you know?
No. Well, yes and no. It's just blind luck. So let me tell you what happened. Joan was at the beauty parlor. Her show had just been announced, the new show. There was a woman sitting next to her who originally was Canadian and said, Joan, you gotta put my niece on the show. She's really funny. Her name's Marjorie Gross. Well, I knew Marjorie, of course, from Toronto. She started out in Toronto long before, and I always thought she was one of the most sophisticated comics, way ahead of her time in what she was doing. And then she moved to LA and New York. She was she wrote, I think, 8 Seinfelds. She was writing more than she was performing. But she was performing at that time. And she was in Toronto just a couple of years before doing, they asked her to come on Canada AM. And they asked me to come on and critique her afterwards. Ooh. So I did it. And, so you see Marjorie's on. And then they go, well, Mark, tell me why you think she's so good. And I explained it. It was the end of the piece. I forgot all about it. But when this woman gave Joan the tape, it was the full tape, including what I was talking about. Joan was on the treadmill in her house watching this and had forgotten to put her remote control next to the treadmill. So when she was watching it, Marjorie was finished, and then I came on, and there wasn't any real time to shut me off. So she let it run when she was, on the treadmill. And she went, who is this guy? She calls up Howie Mandel because she knows Howie, and Howie's a Canadian. And of course, Howie's an old friend and sang my praises. And that's how I got called. But you see how many levels of luck? If she hadn't been sitting at the beauty parlor, if the woman hadn't had this niece, if I hadn't gone on after the niece on Canada AM, and if she hadn't misplaced her remote control, which is the detail I like the best, I was destined to have that job. And it was a fabulous job. And when Joan left, or was actually fired, 9 months into it, I quit. And I was up in my house in the hills, in the pool. I lived very well. And there was a knock at the door the next day. I quit on the Friday. Saturday afternoon, there was a knock on the door. I go, who is it? It's the vice president of Fox. He says, can I come in? I was in the neighborhood. No, you're not in the neighborhood. I live in this little cul-de-sac street that you wouldn't even know how to get there if I gave you directions. So, he wasn't just in the neighborhood. Anyway, he says, look, I know Joan's gone from the show, but that doesn't mean we want you to go. We'd like to give you a promotion and let you run the whole show with all the new people that, we'll have a different host every week until we can find somebody who's the right person, and you'll help us do that too. I said, okay, my agent will call you and work out the details, but I'm open to doing the job, but only if Joan says yes. So I called Joan, and I said, Joan, I've gotten this offer. What do I do? She goes, don't be a fool. Take it. But let me know everything that's going on. So I had this...
Well, that's very generous of her.
Yes, well...
you can be bitter about being fired, and you can be, angry.
Sure wasn't me that did it.
Yeah, so the fact that she was offering you the opportunity to be able to continue, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really
wonderful.
wonderful.
So that's good. So I got another year in LA.
What do you think about the future of comedy in Canada?
Well, I think the future of comedy in Canada is very much like the future of comedy in the States and in England and everything. I think that more people will want to come see comedy because it's just a relief from the world we live in. And, as things become more difficult, I don't see them becoming less difficult. As things become more difficult, I think we're going to need comedy as a form of therapy and connection. I mean, you can watch stuff on TV. It's not the same. Tonight, 240 people will be in this room laughing at stuff that their people next to them will be laughing at, and they don't know each other. They're complete strangers, but they're sharing something incredibly intimate and incredibly important. So I think that these clubs I like to think that they'll always survive in one form or another.
Do you find it more exhilarating to have the room echo with laughter after something that you've said, or just being involved in the echo?
Well, I'm not very involved on stage anymore. I do some stuff. I do some charity work, and I do some public speaking. And there's humor in it, of course. But I don't go up there every night. And if you don't get up there every night, you're not going to be much of a comic. It's kind of like a boxer. If you're not in the ring, you're not going to survive. You can't just occasionally box. You're going to get your head, you're going to get your head kicked in. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to just do the business end of it because I still find it so creative. Besides which, if you're really a comic, and I think at heart I'm really a comic, you're kind of doing that whether you're on stage or not. If I go to a restaurant and I order something, I'm doing shtick with the waiter. I'm always trying to bring that feeling to whatever I do in life. I don't need a stage to do it.
But that echo is a drug, isn't it?
Well, I loved it. I did it for 20 years, and I do miss it. But I miss it more now in an abstract way. What I really miss now is coming up with a great joke, but not being able to deliver it to anybody except my friends and other comics. I can never really test it out to see if it really works.
Do you find comics tougher on your jokes?
No, I find them easier because I'm hiring them. Well, it's true.
It is true. What I enjoy about Yuk Yuk's is the fact that it's still a reasonable ticket to be able to have a live experience and almost therapy.
Well, have you noticed how much tickets to, big events cost now? I mean, and I'm not even talking about the $12,000 Taylor Swift tickets, but I'm just saying if you went to see a rock band with two hits, and the ticket's $140 now, and if you want to go see a sporting event, you want to go see the Jays, you want to go see the Leafs, and seasons tickets are some astronomical amount, and that was not always the case. But yes, I think the price point is important, and I think it's important that it'd be around $25, $30 to get in.
To make it accessible, so that an average Joe can still come and enjoy the talent, the skill, the gift that these brilliant comedians bring, and you have a high expectation for your roster.
Well, yes, and we always thought that the price should be the price of 2 movies. Because, you're going to get double the laughs. the funniest movie you go see. You're still not laughing out loud all that much. But here, the laughter is continuous, it's explosive. That's what it's supposed to be. I didn't call the club giggles or guffaws or something. I called it Yuk Yuks because I wanted people to sort of understand that the laughter was going to come from the solar plexus, from the gut. It was going to be something deep and meaningful. And that's the kind of, comedy that I like.
Who's your hot comic right now that you're in love with, that you are eager to promote?
Brian O'Gorman, I think, is fantastic. I mean, he sort of looks like a hippie, long hair, kind of disheveled, but the stuff out of his mouth is brilliant and brilliantly funny.
Great.
He'll be here. We'll be having him here.
We'll definitely keep an eye out for Brian O'Gorman. That's fabulous. Thank you, Mark, so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And if you can just say it into the camera, say it loud, say it proud. I love Newsload.
I love Newsload! I am a big fake!
It sounded so real.
Is that good?
Thank you.
This is the Newsload.